In this channel, I have a playlist full of tutorials on motion design. If you haven't seen them, I'll leave them linked in the description. One of the things which people ask me is, how does one implement these animations in real products? Developers do it. Yup, developers do it, but there's a way how designers can also do a bit of implementation all by themselves, and that's exactly what I'm going to cover in this video. This is what we are going to build today. The animation plays as you scroll. I'll prepare some assets in Figma. I will animate them in After Effects, export the animations using Lottie files, implement it in a real website using a no-code tool called Webflow. Lots of things to cover. So see you on the other side of this jingle. Hey you awesome people, welcome to my channel. This is Sapta, and if you're here for the first time, this is the place where I help designers build and scale their career with tips, suggestions and tutorials. So if you're into it, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Before we start, I have a hardware update to share with you. I've added a monitor to my setup. I always stayed away from any kind of external hardware because I thought that if I get used to larger screen or more comfortable mouse, then I may find it difficult to work directly on my laptop when I have to. But then BenQ launched a series of monitors specially designed for designers like us. So I couldn't resist myself, and BenQ India was very kind enough to send me a BenQ PD2700U. With a monitor that has ergonomic design, I can finally ensure that both my back and hands are comfortable when I'm working. It also has an anti-glare coating on the screen to prevent any kind of reflections of the screen. Now, what makes it special for designers? It has got a few things. A 27-inch sharp and vivid 4K IPS panel with 100% sRGB, which makes sure that the colors that I'm seeing are accurate. It also has different modes like CAD, darkroom, HDR, low blue light, and so on, which you can set depending on the type of work you are doing. I particularly like the animation mode that enhances dark areas and images without overexposing bright regions. Animation modes gives clear contrast of lines and shapes when I'm animating anything intricate. So today also I will switch to the animation mode when I get to After Effects, but first let's jump onto Figma. So here we are in Figma, and I'm going to design some assets which we'll be needing for the animation, the Lottie animation that we're going to make. This is a preview of what the Lottie section of the design is. So it has, this pattern that you see behind, the retro pattern, which is nothing but some triangles which are arranged in a radial, around a radial circle, and this record, this record. So these are the two things that we are going to design. So sure, let's keep that aside, and I'll create a new artboard here. I will create an artboard that is 360 by 720 because that's the aspect ratio that I'm using for here. It doesn't quite matter because we'll just be using it for the top section. This is just for my reference, and this has got nothing to do with how the asset would finally be. You'll get to know it very soon. So I will just fill it up with the same dark color. It's not exactly black, but yeah, a color which is close to black if you see. Alright, so here's my artboard. Now I'm going to grab the triangle tool here, or rather the polygon tool. So if you don't know where the polygon tool is, it's usually by default a rectangle tool here at the top left. If you click on it, you'll see something called polygon. So we are going to use the polygon tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle. Something like this. You see that, it has some clearance here, although I'm pulling it beyond the artboard, but the triangle is only till here. That's because, this is a polygon tool. It has got a few other capabilities as well. For example, number of corners. Right now it's defaulted to 3. You see here, this is 3. If I change this number to others, the polygon kind of changes. Anyways, I don't need that, but this is what Figma has to give us. So I'll give it a width of around 92. Yeah, I have drawn something which is around 92 pixels wide. I'm going to keep it that way. And the height, yeah, roughly this much is fine, where I have around this much of space at the bottom. So this is my polygon or the triangle. Now, once I've made this, I don't really need all these capabilities of changing the corners and all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to destroy this capability, and that's going to give me a clean, neat shape that I need. So I'll just select this. I'll go to Object, and I will click on Outline Stroke. Command-Shift-O is the keyboard shortcut of it. So I'll click on that, and now it's a simple shape, just like you would have made it with a pen tool or anything similar. Okay, so here we have our shape, and now we will create the circle around this point. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll create another artboard which is larger. Now if I see this, after flattening, the height of it is around 619.5. You know what, I'll make it 620, around 620, and the width I'll make it around 82. Or maybe I'll make it around 90. I think 90 is good enough, and 620 is the height and 90 is the width. So this is the shape that I'm going to start working with. So since this has a height of 620, what I'll do is I'll create another artboard here. I'll create another artboard, and the height and the width of it, it's going to be a square, will be double of this one. Okay, so double of the height of this. So this one was 620, right? So 620 into 2 is nothing but 1240. So 1240 is the height, width, and 1240 is also the height of it. So this is the square that I have made, and I'll also fill it up with the same black so that I get to see what is happening. The reason I did this is because I'm going to rotate this. So I'm going to drag and bring it in this artboard. Here, I just exactly centered it. Here I have it. Now I'm going to just copy and keep rotating it. So let's go ahead and do that. But before that, I think I will fill this up with some color, a gradient particularly. So I'll first fill it up with white, and then, I will select this, and from solid, I'll change it to linear gradient. Now, whatever default gradient that Figma is applying out here, it's exactly what I need essentially. So which is, white with 100% opacity at the top and white with 0% opacity at the bottom. That's exactly what I need here. So I will just keep it this way. And now that I have filled it up with the gradient that I need, I'll make copy of it and I'm going to rotate it. Okay, so I'll just make a copy. Command D is the keyboard shortcut for making copy. And once I made the copy, I will just rotate it like this by 180 degrees. And I'm going to keep it right at the top here. You see, now that we have ensured that dimensions are exactly twice the height of this one, it exactly snaps. So it has exactly that much space as it would need to occupy two of these. So we have the first set of things which are ready. Now I'm going to group these two. I'm going to select these two and hit Command G. And now I'm going to copy this entire group. I hit Command D once again. I have one copy, and now I'll rotate it this way. It's the same thing, just that to reduce my effort, I'm grouping them so that, I have to do it less number of times. This time I'm going to select both of them, create one more group and hit Command D to copy. And now I will rotate it and place it somewhere here. And then I will make another copy of it. I'll hit Command D and then I will rotate it. You see, it is snapping by 30 degrees here. I'll hit Command D once again and I will again rotate it. I'll do it a couple of times before I fill this entire space. Cool, there I have filled the entire space, and now this entire frame is going to be my asset which I'm going to use. So but for that, I don't need the black background now that I have given it whatever I needed. I'm going to remove the fill from here. So this is nothing but my spinner. I'll call it spinner and I will keep it this way. So here I have my spinner, which is this one. Of course, we'll reduce the opacity of it when we use, so that it's much lighter than what it seems right now. Now let's also go ahead and create this record. Now this record is nothing but some circles with an image that I found online. There's an image of Jimi Hendrix which I found online. So let me just go ahead and bring that image that I found online. So let me just paste it here. This is the image that I found online. Feel free to use any other record image that you want to use, but I kind of like this blue color because it goes well with the black theme that I have chosen, right? Now this, you see, this is a square which just goes edge to edge. So I don't want this white section. So all that I will do is I'll just add some radius to it, and that's going to take care of it. I'll just add some very large radius, maybe 200 or something, and it kind of automatically trims the unwanted section which I do not need. Now I'm going to reduce it to a particular size. I'm going to use my eye estimation. I don't really have to measure, I believe, in this. Regardless, let's go ahead and do it. I'll make it 60 by 60, right? So this is a 60 by 60. And now I need a couple of circles. Let me go ahead and draw one circle here. And I'll have to make sure that the image is on top of the circle. And I will select these two and align. So I'll select both of them I'll click on this, and I'll click on this, which ensures that I vertically and horizontally align these two things together. Okay, so here I have the base of my record is ready. Now, of course, I'm going to fill it up with a dark color, black, maybe the same color that I'm using here. But once I do that, it kind of blends with the background. So what I'll do is I'll add a stroke to it, stroke inside. Maybe I'll add a thickness of 2 pixels, and I will use a slightly lighter color here. Slightly lighter color. I can even pick this color and then take a gray version of that green, so that a bit of tinge of that blue is also present, and it kind of blends well with each other, right? So here I have the bigger one. I'll also put a smaller ring around this label itself. So I will just select this circle that I have here, and I'll hit Command D. Command D essentially duplicates it in place, and now I will reduce in size. I'll press and hold Option and Shift so that it resizes about the center. Okay, so here I'll keep it, and for this one I don't need 2. I think I'll give it a thickness of 1. Yeah, it's enough. I think it looks similar to what I have done out there. And for this, I could even use white, but never mind. I think this is good enough. I'll also do one more thing. If you know, or if you had ever seen a record, records used to have a hole in the center, if I'm not mistaken, just like compact discs or CDs, right? So I will just copy this one, Command C, and I will select this image, and I'll hit Command V so that, it goes on top of it. Now I'm going to reduce it to a small size so that it feels like a hole. Yeah, it feels like a hole, and I can actually get away with the stroke because I don't quite need it. And there I have my record. So I'll select all of these together, all the concentric circles using which I have made this record, and I'll hit Command G. So that's my record, right? So I'll put the record outside here, and I honestly don't need this frame anymore. I'll just go ahead and delete it because that was just for my reference. So here I have my first asset, which is, I'll name it record, and this one I have already named it spinner, right? So that's my spinner, that's my record. Now the first step is, actually we are done everything in Figma. We don't need to come back to Figma. Okay, we'll come back once again later, but now we'll have to export these assets so that we can import them inside After Effects. So I will select both of them, the record as well as the spinner. I will come to the bottom here, and I will click on export. And I'll be exporting PNG because I need transparent background for both of them, and I'll export them at a size which is 3x, 3 times. Okay, I'll hit 3x. I'll export these 2 layers, and yeah, they're exporting slightly big files, and just go ahead and save wherever you want to keep them. So in my case, I'd made some folders called animation assets, so I'll click on animation assets, and I will save both of them here. We are done with Figma for now. Let's quickly go to After Effects. Here I am in After Effects, and I'll create a new composition by clicking right here. The composition screen opens, and I will use a width of 1080 by 2160, which is nothing but 3 times the size which I have used on Figma. This was 360 by 720, right? So 360 into 3 is 1080, 720 into 3 is 2160, and I'll use a frame rate of 60, and duration doesn't quite matter. Let it be whatever it is. So I'll just go ahead and click OK. So there I have my screen out there, and if you remember, there was a color which was already set because before recording this I was practicing how I would do it, so I had set the color. So if you haven't, all that you can do is just pick the color that you have here, pick the artboard, and you have this color 30030 D10. Just copy that maybe and bring it to After Effects and put it out here. So if you see, this is a background color that we are giving to the composition itself. This is not going to be a part of the render. This is just for your reference because we're going to put some white assets on it, and if the background is also white, you won't really see what is happening. That's why it's a good idea to put a dark color, any color, so that you see exactly what is happening. Okay, and the composition name, I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Lottie. Yeah, Lottie Retro. Let's call it Retro Lottie. Retro Lottie, and I'll hit OK. Now I'm going to import the 2 assets that I had exported inside my animation assets, which is record and spinner. So I'll select both of them, and I will drag and bring them inside After Effects. Alternately, I can always double click on this project panel and browse wherever my files are and do the same essentially. Yep, I can select them and bring them as well, or I can drag and drop. All right, so now I have my empty composition, which is retro Lottie. And then I have these two things, which I'm just going to drag and drop. First, let me take the spinner. I will drag and bring it here. So there is my spinner. Of course, the position isn't right. I don't want it exactly at the center. I'm going to take this thing at the top, right? So I'm pressing and holding shift so that, I can drag it along one perfect straight line. So there, roughly when I put it at the top so that this center kind of touches the top edge, that's the thing that I need here. And of course, it's a way too dark. I don't have to tell you. So we are going to select this, hit T on the keyboard to reveal opacity. I don't have to add any keyframe because, I'm not really animating opacity out here. If I were to animate opacity, then I would add. But right now, I just want to reduce it. I'm going to make it 10%. This is what I need, right? So it's going to be constantly at a 10% opacity throughout the animation. So I don't need to add any keyframe at all because I'm not really animating that. Alternately, I could have also set the opacity on Figma, then exported the asset. It would be same, right? I just did it this way, not a problem. Now, I'm also going to bring the record. So here's my record. I'm going to drag and bring it over the spinner, right? And of course, I will also position it exactly in the same way so that the center is touching the top edge. There it is. I zoomed in a bit so that I see better. So yeah, roughly here, is where I'm going to keep my record so that it's like the way we want it, right? Now we'll go ahead and animate. Now you'll be surprised to know that this animation is actually much simpler than all the other animations that we have ever done in this channel before. Okay, so let's first go ahead and animate the spinner. So the record, I will just, put a lock over it so that, it doesn't move around while I'm working with the spinner. I will select the spinner. It's going to rotate above this, right? So this big thing is the spinner. Since I moved it at the top, the center is at the top. So it's going to rotate above the center, right? And of course, I'm going to animate the rotation. So I will select the spinner, hit R on the keyboard, R. That reveals rotation. And I'm going to add one keyframe right here, right at t equal to 0. And I need to add another keyframe as well, of course. Where do I add it? Honestly, you can add it anywhere you want. Doesn't matter, because this animation is never going to get played as a video or as a regular animation, but it's going to get synced with the scroll that the user does on the page. So just for the heck of it, I'm going to put it at 1 second. So I move this handle to somewhere in 1 second, and here I'm going to put a second keyframe by clicking on this one. So there I have 2 keyframes right now. Now I'll change the values, right? In the initial stage, I will leave it 0, and in the final stage, I'm going to make it 360, right? I can either enter 360 here, or 360 degrees is nothing but one complete rotation. So I can directly, edit this value, which is 0x. I can make it 1x. So you don't see any change here. Why? Because it has made one complete rotation and it has stopped here, right? Let me show you how the preview would be. You see what's happening? So if you move like this, it's going to rotate, right? Simple stuff. Okay. Now, don't worry about, easing them or doing anything at all. Not needed, because like I said, it's never going to get played as an animation. It's always going to get played along with the user's scroll. So however fast the user scrolls, the animation is going to play that fast or slow, or as the case may be. So we don't have to do anything to it. We'll just keep it linear just like that. Okay. In fact, I will chop off the animation here at 1 second itself. That is by placing the handle at t equal to 1 second, and I'll hit N on my keyboard. When I hit N, it just trims the entire composition, right? All right, so there it is. Now we will do something similar to the record as well. Now it's the time we are going to animate record. So I'm going to remove this lock, which I had put before. And now maybe I can put a lock to the spinner so that that doesn't get moved. Yeah, now exact same thing we'll do. I'll select record and hit R on my keyboard, which reveals the rotation. I'll add one keyframe at t equal to 0. I will move the handle to the same place 1 second and add another keyframe. And I'll do the exact same thing, but with one difference. So in this one, since I had put 1x, which means it rotates along the positive z-axis, this time I'm going to make it -1. Okay, so minus 1x. So what it means is they both will rotate in the opposite direction. That kind of brings some sort of a character. You will know what I'm saying when you see it happening in real life, right? So right now, if I see, I can't show you an exact preview because my computer is already struggling with the audio recorder and the screen grab running. But in Webflow, when we move these things to Webflow, it's going to work really well. Okay, so these two things are actually rotating in opposite directions. Maybe you don't see it right now. Okay, all right, so we are actually done with animation. There's no more animation that we are going to do in After Effects today. So let us quickly go ahead and export it using Lottie. And how do we do that? Of course, you need the Lottie Files plugin for that. If you have never used Lottie before, there's another video in my channel in where I have explained in detail how to install, download, and set up your Lottie files in After Effects. If you haven't seen that, I will keep it linked in the description. You can go and check that out as well. And once you have it installed, what you need to do is, while you're in the same composition that you want to render, go to Window, Extensions, Lottie Files. See, Window, Extensions, and Lottie Files. So go ahead and click on Lottie Files. This is going to open the Lottie Files plugin, which is this. Okay, and it's just going to load all the compositions that you have in this file. Right now, I just have one composition, which is this one, Retro Lottie, which is the one which is active right now. So that's why it's showing me only one. Now, all that I need to do is just go ahead and click on this big green button out there. So I just click. It will take a few seconds for it to render. So the way it works in Lottie Files is it first renders and shows you the preview right here. And after that, it asks you where to save, because saving is an optional thing out there, right? So it first renders. So don't worry, hey, where is it getting saved? I don't know. Am I going to lose the file? No, that's not going to happen. So here we have rendered it. It's showing a preview. It doesn't feel like they're rotating in opposite direction. It's because, there are some frame drops that are happening. My computer is an old one. Please excuse me for that. But it has actually rendered it in the way we want perfectly, right? Now, I'll just hit Save As and I will select a format, right? So there are two formats which are available. One is .json and .lottie. I'm going to use .json because I'm not yet sure if .lottie is supported in Webflow. Maybe they should, but I don't know yet. I know for a fact that JSON is supported. So I'm going to click on JSON and I'm going to save it. This is where, you select the destination. So here, Webflow, like Retro Lottie, I had already made one. So I'm just going to replace that. And replace. So there I have my asset saving. So this progress bar kind of suggests that it is still rendering and saving. Yep, we are done. When that screen gets dismissed, it means that the rendering or the saving is done. Now I can close this and I can actually close After Effects and just go away because I'm done with After Effects. So I just go ahead and close it. Now I'm going to open Webflow. If you're new here, just go to webflow.com. Just sign in with your Google account by clicking on this and you will be good to go. Now, I already have my account in place, so I just close that and here is my dashboard of Webflow. Now, Webflow is simple. It's a tool. It's a wonderful tool using which you can build websites without having to code. And the free account lets me design and keep up to 2 websites. Right now, I have only one of them, which is nothing but when I was experimenting as to what I should make for the tutorial. So this is that. And I'll be creating one more now to demonstrate it. So at any point of time in the free account, you can have 2 of these websites which are not published. But the moment you publish one, of course, you can create one more. That's how Webflow works. So all that I need to do is just click on New Site. I'll click on New Site. And there are lots of templates that you can pick from, but right now we are not going to use any of these templates. If you want to use Webflow for some of your personal projects, of course, you can go ahead and use them, but we'll be using blank site right now. So it's a free one. Some of the templates are of course paid. You'll find them at the bottom, but the blank one of course is free. I will click site name. It's asking for a site name. I'll just call it, retro music. Yeah, let's give it a name, retro music. I'll click on create site. Now it's going to create a blank website for me. Now remember that this is not a tutorial of Webflow, right? Even I don't think I'm good enough to be teaching Webflow, but I'm going to teach only one small aspect of Webflow, which of course is going to be useful for you as a designer. So yeah, if you ask me some really intricate details about Webflow, I won't have the answer to. So please excuse me for that, but I will tell you what I know about Webflow and Lottie. So yeah, this is place, this is where you go ahead and build your websites out there, right? And this might be reminiscent of how Figma looks. Figma also has a similar one. And if you're into front-end development, you will be this things are probably familiar to you, where you have padding, margin, and all those things out there. But don't worry, we are going to ignore all of them today. And these are different views. This is desktop, this is tablet, this is landscape mobile, and this is landscape portrait mobile. Today we are going to make it for portrait mobile. Well, actually, we will automatically make for all the views as well. But what I have designed in Figma is optimized for portrait mobile. So, we'll be using portrait mobile for the demonstration. Right? So let's go to the portrait mobile view. First things first, I'll give it a background color. If you remember, if I select this, there was a background color fill that I had used. I'm going to copy this hex code, Command C, and I'm going to come back to Webflow. In Webflow, the moment you open, you will see on the left-hand side, it's kind of your layer panel, and it already has something called body. Now, what is a body? If you know HTML, body is, thing inside which the entire site kind of exists. It's the body of the site, and everything else will be inside the body. So that's how it is. There are header, footer, body, and all. So body is by default added. So don't worry about it. Think of it, it's like a folder. Yeah, to put it in simple words, it's like a folder. So in body, when you select body, on the right hand side, you will see a lot of these things, layout, size, position, typography. And there you will see something called background, which is by default set to white. That's why it's appearing white. All that I need to do is in this white, I need to paste that hex code and hit enter. Now I have the color that I wanted, right? Great. Now we need to bring in the Lottie, which we had just made and import it inside Webflow. Now, to do that, there's a place where all the assets sit. Just like in After Effects, you have a place called project where all your files, the images, sound, or whatever you use exist, right? You import. Similarly, Webflow also has a similar thing, which is nothing but this place, assets. On this, there's a toolbar out here. Don't worry about what the rest of the things are. Like I said, it's not a tutorial on Webflow, so I'm not going to get into the details of them. Click on this one, assets. Here. So right now we are here in assets. You can drop files here, or I can use this button, which is nothing but, and I can choose a file. I'll click on this and I can navigate to where my files are. Okay, so it's inside my drive, YouTube, tutorials, Animate Webflow. Inside Webflow assets is where I had kept my retro lottie.json. You see, it's showing me a preview, which is nothing but lines of code. So it's actually a Lottie file. So I will select this and I will click open. Now it's going to come inside my asset panel. I have not yet put in my website. It's just inside my asset panel so that I can use it as and when I need it. You see it's loading. So it just shows a small loader out there. There I have it. Now that the Lottie is in place, I need to drag and drop it here. I just drag and drop, and this window kind of opens, which has a couple of options out here. It says, okay, play and reverse and all is not needed. I accidentally clicked it. There are a few options like use built-in duration and all. Honestly, these things doesn't matter because we are not going to use the duration at all. So, I'll just uncheck it. And for everything else, let's keep the default options. Renderer, SVG, it can remain this way. Let us just close it. Okay, so here I have my Lottie in place. If you want to see the preview of it, just double click this one, and that same window which we just closed is going to open again. So if you click on preview, you see it's playing. Right now it's playing in 1 second because that's how we had made it, but it's not going to matter. You will get to know it in a very, very soon. So here we have our Lottie in place. Now we are going to create the interaction of scroll. Okay, for that, on the right hand side, you will see there are 4 tabs here. We are by default in the style tab where we just change the color of the background and all. And the last one, just ignore the second and the third. And the last one is nothing but interactions. So I'm going to go to the 4th tab, the last one. Inside it, there are different triggers that you can create. Like triggers are nothing but something which starts or something which plays something, right? So that's what trigger mean. So we are going to add a page trigger. There's an element trigger, there's a page trigger. I'm going to add a page trigger here. You see that plus out here? I'm going to click it, and then there are a couple of options, and it's very straightforward. While page is scrolling. That's what we need to pick because we are going to do something while the page is scrolling. It also shows you description, when you hover on it. So I'll go ahead and click while page is scrolling. Okay, so while page is scrolling, the moment I select, it opens up another kind of menu inside it, which asks for the details. On scroll, what do you want? What action do you want? So I'll go and say, play scroll animation. Okay, and now that I said scroll animation, it's asking me which animation. So for that, I'm going to click on this one, which is nothing but this. It says no animation right now. I'm going to click a plus, and it opens a timeline. Well, this is not exactly a timeline. This is more of a status line, I would say, because there's no time here. You see, it's not t equal to 0, it's not t equal to 1 second, but it's 0% to 100%, right? So something will happen from 0% to 100%, and that's what we're going to determine using our Lottie. So I'm going to click one more plus here. I'll click on this plus and click on Lottie. So I'll click on Lottie, and you see the Lottie, the same thing that we just added, got populated here. Okay, now you see the same instance is added at 100% as well, right? So this is at 0%, this is at 100%. Think of it, these are like the keyframes that we add inside After Effects. Okay, so for the first one, for 0%, when I click on this, if you see here, the Lottie, it is at 0%. You know, I can slide it, and when I slide, this thing plays out there, right? So this is how it is. So I'm going to keep it at 0% when it is at 0, and when it is at 100%, I want the Lottie to go all the way to the end, right? That is to 100%. I'm zooming in so that you see what exactly is happening out there. Okay, so what I did was in 0%, it's at 0, and at 100%, it's at 100% completion of the Lottie. Okay, now when you see, there are some options that you'll see out here, you know, linear or ease in, ease out. Do not use them. Do not use them, like I've said. It's best to keep it linear because it's going to act on the way you scroll it, right? So that's it. We don't need to do anything else. I'm just going to go and click on save here. Okay, so it is saved right now. So technically our Lottie should work. Let's go ahead and do a quick preview. How do you do a preview on Webflow? It's simple. On the top left, you see there's an icon called I, which says toggle preview. So when you click on this, this is your preview mode right now. Okay, I'm trying to scroll, but it's not playing. Why is it so? Because there is nothing to scroll as such. Okay, there's nothing to scroll here. That's why you're not able to see, because the page kind of ends. There's nothing else to show. So for that, to solve that, let us add some dummy content to it. Okay, so that's where we go back to Figma. I have already created some content. You know, I will just show it when I was doing. This is just sample content that I had made, imagining this is some presenting disco 1969. Since the look was retro, I just used some lorem ipsum text and made a disco line out there. Yeah, some random thing that I made, and I just put my signature as well. Right, so that's the content. And if you want to use exactly this one, I will also leave the link to the public file, which you can access from figma.com/@saptarshipPR, and I will leave the link in the description, so you can make a copy of the same file and use it. Okay, or alternately, you can feel free to go and design your own content. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use the content as an image right now. Of course, that's not the exact way how you create websites on Webflow. Now, technically, you put real text, real button, everything. But for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to use image content, right? So this entire thing, I just, fogged it out. This is nothing but the same content that I have put out here. So this content, I'm going to export it as an image. And then I'm going to use it on that site so that for the demonstration, I can give you a feel of a long scroll. Otherwise, I was not able to think, what am I going to make inside Webflow? So I will select this content and I'll click export content. And I'm going to go to animated scroll, Webflow assets. Of course, I already have the content once. Let me just replace it. Doesn't matter. So I'll just save, replace. So now I have my content also in the folder. And of course, to use it in Webflow, I'll first have to import it, right? So this is nothing but my asset panel. So I already have the JSON here. Now I need to bring that image, that content image that I have just made. So I'll just click on this once again. And here's my content.png, right? It's PNG because it has transparent backgrounds. So I'm going to select that content, click open. Now, when I click open, it just loads exactly in the same way. There you go. So it is done, right? Now I'll bring that content, drag and drop it here. Okay. And I can close it actually. There's nothing that I need to do out here. All the default values are good enough. I'll just close it. Okay. But now there's one thing out there, right? So this is at the bottom and that is at the top. Like what exactly is happening? If you want to see a quick preview of what is happening right now, you see it is scrolling. It is scrolling, right? Since I have content now, I have this whole page out there. It is scrolling, but then it's going away. I don't want that to go, right? Let's go ahead and fix it because I want the Lottie to be fixed, static out there. So I will click on this Lottie. This is the layer panel I said, right? Lottie and then the image. The image is nothing but the content. I will click on this Lottie and then I will go back to this tab, which is nothing but style. I'll go to style. Here we will do some things out there. So particularly have a look at this position. In position, it is set to static. Okay. Now, of course, I'm not going to explain you what each of these things mean. I'm going to just show you how this is going to work. Okay. So instead of static, just make it fixed. Now, these are actually real HTML terms. These are the terms which are used in HTML when developers actually code these things out, right? So when you make it fixed, what it does is the position of that gets fixed. It kind of becomes a fixed element which doesn't move, right? So now if you go to the preview page and you see, yeah, this is exactly what you wanted. Of course, we'll fix some paddings and all here, but this is what you wanted. The Lottie should be in its place the entire time the scroll is happening. So this is happening, right? So now just quickly go and fix some of these things out there, right? So we will just fix this one, which is this image. Now the image is starting from the extreme top. We don't want it. We want some padding at the top, right? And that's exactly what we'll do. We'll just select the image. And once the image is selected, on the right hand side, you will see this thing. The spacing is what we are going to use right now. Okay. Ignore the margin bit. We are not going to use margin here. We're going to add top padding, right? So these are nothing but if you hover on them, this is top, right, bottom, and left. I will click on the top padding. I'll enter some value. I think a value of around 200. Let's try 200. I'll hit 200 and enter. Okay, good enough. But you know what? I feel we can make it around 250. I'll want to increase it a little more. I'll just go ahead and click on this. I'll make it 250 and hit enter. Okay, I think this is better. This is better. Let's go ahead and see the preview once again. I'll click on toggle preview. Yup. This is what you wanted, isn't it? When you're scrolling, the animation is playing, you're scrolling back, it's playing in the opposite direction. And you see, I told you, right? When you put it in Webflow, you're going to see exactly what is happening. You see the record and this pattern is actually rotating in opposite direction. That's exactly what I wanted, right? That's why 1x and minus 1x, remember? And like if you see this black thing out there and wonder what is wrong with my asset, nothing is wrong with your asset. That's actually the progress bar of Lottie, you see? A progress bar of Webflow. So when it's a web page, right? After all. So when I'm scrolling, this progress bar is also kind of, coming down. So yeah, that's what it is, We are actually done, but I will just show you a few other things because we have so far been working only on this one, which is mobile portrait version, right? So I will just go back to the regular mode. And if you go to the other modes, say for example, mobile landscape mode, you will see that, the things are not quite showing up. It's because, I think it's a bug on Webflow. I'm not sure. So if you click on body, I need to enter the background color once again. Okay. Because it's, I might want to actually have different background color for different views. If you see it on tablet, maybe different background. So they've just given that flexibility. That's how HTML works, right? So I'm going to pick the same color, which I had used here, which is this one. I'll copy it. I'll go back to Webflow and I will use the same background color here. So even for the landscape one, I will set the background color to that hex code. And I will do the same for the tablet view as well. So even in the tablet view, while body is selected, I'll go to the background, which is this. Yep. So this was the bug that I was talking about. So, it's already that color, but it's not showing up. So for that, what you need to do is just put any other color, click outside, and now go ahead and change it. So now it comes. This is for sure a bug, right? And here we have it. And now we'll have to do the same thing that you have done for mobile. That is to set it as to set the Lottie as fixed instead of static. We need to do it in the other places as well. And then I think we are done. So in the landscape one, I will select the Lottie and I'm going to call it fixed. And of course, I'll have to add the padding for the top also. Okay, let's first fix this this landscape mobile view. Then we'll fix the other things. I'll go to image and I will add a top padding. We had added 250, right? Let me add the same thing here. And I'll go back to the tablet view. I will do the same for the Lottie. I'm going to make it fixed. And for the image, I'm going to add a top padding of 250. Okay. Now you might be thinking that why do I need to keep repeating it? Now you need to keep repeating it because you actually do things differently for these different views, right? Now imagine here, all of these things look similar, but this is actually a tablet view. It's an iPad, which is much wider than a mobile device, than a portrait mobile, right? So you might actually want to make some other changes as well. You might want to increase the padding on the left and the right for a tablet, but for mobile, okay, this much of padding is fine, left and the right, but for iPad, maybe you want more and all. That's why, they give you the flexibility so that you can make those micro changes, right? That's pretty much it. If you click on this preview, yep, this is working just like the way you want. And if you click on this one, it is also working. If you click on this one, it's also working, right? So this is what you wanted. But before ending this video, I'm going to tell you one more thing, which is, if you see the panel out here, this Lottie is actually above the image. Okay, it's above the image, and that's why you're seeing this record going over the text. Okay, does it mean only the record is at the top? Not really. Even this pattern is above all this text, but since it is just at a 10% opacity, you are not really seeing the effect of it all that much. If I zoom in further, you'll probably see, okay, a bit of the lines are visible, but it's actually the entire Lottie is at the top of this one, right? So in this case, I think it just works because this pattern on top of everything, I kind of like the effect. So yeah, that's how you animate using After Effects, export using Lottie, and implement using Webflow. I hope you learned something new today, and with this, you'll be able to make much better use of After Effects, Lottie, as well as Webflow. You can use this technique to build a lot of things for your own personal website. Even if you do not want to go into the details of Webflow, you can always use static images just like the way I did today by creating most of the stuff on Figma and then doing the final bit of implementation using Webflow. Now the best part is you can make it live because Webflow gives you that capability, and you can have your own website which is out there in the internet. And trust me, the feeling of building something from the scratch and putting it out there in the internet is immense. If you like this video, please share it with your network, because that gives me a lot of visibility and more people get benefits out of these videos. And please don't forget to hit subscribe. I will see you in the next one.